Hi all, Tom here. Welcome to my channel where I try to share everything about Studio Ghibli. Today's video will be the last translation difference video for Spirited Away, where I discuss the differences between the English version, the subtitles, and the Japanese version. If you want to check out my other two videos on the translation differences for the film, I provided links below. Something I also want to point out is that some of these translation differences may not be so extensive. They can be simple, or perhaps they're just about the use of wording. Some translations can diverge a bit, however. Translating anything in any language is difficult and can be subjective, so these translations should be taken with a grain of salt. I find it best where a group of people share their thoughts and meet somewhere in the middle, in agreement. Nevertheless, I hope at the very least these can be food for thought for you, or generate some conversation. And lastly, since I was in the process of moving and settling into my new place, it took me some time to post this video. I want to thank you for subscribing, watching my videos, and giving me comments. It means a lot to me. I'll try to post a Castle in the Sky video in the next couple of days as well. So without further ado, let's start. You squashed it. Squashed it? That wasn't my slug. My sister put that slug in Haku so she can control him. You squashed it? What happened to my spell? Only love can break it. Come now. Subtitles. Squashed it? My sister snuck that bug into the dragon so she could control him. And you squashed it? Now then, sit down. You must be No-Face. You sit too. Japanese. Squashed it? My dear, you know that bug. In order for my younger sister to control her apprentice, she secretly put that into the dragon's stomach. You squashed it? Now sit. You must be No-Face. You sit also. In terms of the word usage, the only difference I see are slug, stomach, and little sister. The main difference here, however, is in the English version, Zenuba says that the spell was broken because of love. This is the direction that Disney chose to take to explain the relationship between Haku and Chihiro, and it's often repeated throughout the movie, but not in the Japanese dub. Technically, it was really the Nigadango, or the gift from the river spirit, that had Haku spit out the seal and dissipate the effects of the spell. Twin sisters. English. I don't get along with my sister. She's so obnoxious. You saw how tacky her home is. We're identical twins, yet exact opposites. Subtitles. Yubaba and I are two halves of a whole, but we don't get along. You know what bad taste she has? Sorceress twins are just a recipe for trouble. Japanese. Yubaba and I are two halves of a whole, but we don't get along. See? That person is not high-collared, right? Here, the English version has the two sisters as identical twins, or two separate people, while the subtitles in Japanese have them as two halves of a whole. In the English version, Zeniba says that her sister's home is tacky, while in the Japanese version, she says, Hora, ano hito high-kara janai janai, translated as, that person is not high-collared, right? I found that the word high-kara really means Western or fashionable, a word that originated during the Meiji period when Western culture was rapidly introduced to Japan. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Japanese people had a strong admiration for Western culture during this period, and it was considered a good thing to be Western in dress, lifestyle, hobbies, and even thought. Suits became popular and a symbol for sophistication, and the collar of the shirt used was called a high collar. But over time, the word haikara eventually evolved to mean being fashionable in general. I don't think people use that word anymore today, but perhaps did in Miyazaki's generation. Between the two sisters, it's probably not about tackiness but disposition for the reason why they don't get along. One is a bit more superficial and glitzy, while the older sister may think she is more sophisticated and down to earth, even if they look exactly the same. I'm not sure if this was intentional to be satirical, or that Miyazaki decided to keep this quoted line even after they decided that the two sisters were to be identical instead of the initially proposed tall and short appearance. Haku's arrival. English. Haku, thank goodness, you're alive. I can't believe it. How did it happen? Ah, that's love for you. Subtitles. Haku, thank goodness. Aren't you hurt? You sure you're okay? And Zeniba says, good timing, I'd say. The Japanese is the same as the subtitles. Not much to say here except the extra, that's love for you line. Chihiro Remembers. English. Haku, listen, I just remembered something long time ago. I think it may help you. Once I was little, I dropped my shoe into the river, and when I tried to get it back, I fell in. I thought I drowned, but the water carried me to shore. It finally came back to me. The river's name was the Kohaku River. I think that was you, and your real name is Kohaku River. Subtitles. Haku, listen, I don't remember this, but my mom told me about it. Once, when I was little, I fell in a river. Now it's all built over. It flows underground. But I just remembered, the river was called the Kohaku River. Your real name is Kohaku. Japanese. Haku, listen, I heard from mom, and it's something I don't remember. But when I was small, I fell into a river. She said that the river already became an apartment building and got buried. But I just remembered now. The name of the river was Kohaku River. Here, it seems like there's variations with all three, English, subtitles, and Japanese. The English dub talks about the shoe, and Chihiro specifically says that the Kohaku is Haku. The subtitle mentions that her mother told her that she fell into a river which she doesn't remember. The river was built over, and that the river still runs underground. In Japanese, the river became an apartment building, and the river doesn't flow underground. And Chihiro says that the river's name was Kohaku River, and then Haku proceeds to transform. Falling into the river. English. That must be why I can't find my way home, Chihiro. I remember you falling into the river in your little pink shoe, so you're the one that carried me back to shallow waters. You saved me. I knew you were good. Subtitles. I remember how you fell into me as a child. You were chasing your shoe. Yes, and you carried me to shallow water. I'm so happy. Japanese. I also remember now. You fell into me when you were trying to pick up your shoe. Yes, you carried me to shallow waters. I'm so happy. In the English version, Haku says that she fell into the river. Then she says, you saved me. I knew you were good. In the subtitle and in Japanese, it says Chihiro fell into him because he is the river. She also doesn't say, you saved me, or make any qualitative statement, like, I knew you were good. She just says, I'm happy. Test or rule. English. Don't forget your promise. You must return Chihiro and her parents to the human world. Not so fast, Haku. I get to give Sen one final test. Subtitles. Yubaba, remember your promise. Send Chihiro and her parents back to their world. Sorry, but it's not that simple. This world has rules, you know. The Japanese here is the same as the subtitles. The English version always had this test in mind. If you go back to number 9 in my other translation difference video, you'll see that an additional line was created in the English version to tie into this end scene. In the subtitles and in Japanese, Yubaba just says that there are rules to this world. In Japanese, Yubaba says, Yononaka ni wa kimari to yu mono ga arunda. Kimari means rules or a certain way, and that Chihiro can't simply break them. You can often hear Japanese parents say this to the child when he asks why they have to do something. And the parent says something like, Sore ga kimari nano, or kimatteru jan, which in short means, that's just the rules, or that's just the way it is. I noticed that if you choose the Japanese subtitles for viewing the film, on the part when she approaches Yubaba, in English, Chihiro says, okay, I'm ready to take your test. In Japanese, she says, Okite no koto wa Haku kara kikimashita, which translates to, Haku told me about the law or code. Okite means law or code. So it makes one curious what the laws or codes of the spirit world are, or how Mr. Miyazaki thought of them. Regarding the translation itself, it's too difficult to explain law or code to an English viewing audience in one line, so they just made it a test. My or our mother and father. In English, Haku says, let's go, and Chihiro replies, where are my mom and dad? Subtitles, let's go, where's mom and dad? And in Japanese, it's the same as the subtitles. Are the mother and father her parents, or are they their parents? I would appreciate if someone can guide me here, but I don't think it's common to ask where one's parents are located without using a pronoun like watashi no in Japanese. If you were to translate the English version in Japanese, she would say, watashi no okasan to otousan wa, and this is the reason why I'm mentioning it in the first place. There's a theory that Haku is Chihiro's brother, and the Japanese and subtitles suggest that. I'll try to make a video why this theory is so compelling, and how the case for it is built. On the other side. When you pass the test, they woke up on the human side of the river. They're there now, and they're looking for you. Subtitles. They went on ahead. In Japanese, it's the same as the subtitles. I didn't know that there was a delineating line between the human side of the river and the spirit world. Some people make the argument that the family actually entered the spirit world once they got onto the dirt road in the beginning of the film. Going back home. Don't worry, I'll go back and have a talk with Yubaba. I'll tell her I'm going to quit being her apprentice. I'm fine. I got my name back. Subtitles. I'll tell Yubaba I'm quitting my apprenticeship. I'm fine now. I have my name back. Now I can go home too. Japanese. I'll have a discussion with Yubaba and quit my apprenticeship. I'm fine. I got my name back so I can return back to my original world. You can see that the English version says nothing about going back home, while the subtitle does. In Japanese, it's a bit more specific, referring to home as moto no sekai, or original home. I do wonder where his original home might be. Will we meet again? English. Chihiro says, will we meet again sometime? Subtitles. Will we meet again somewhere? In Japanese, it's the same as the subtitle. In English, Chihiro asks if there is some time they can meet again, while the subtitles and in Japanese, Chihiro asks if there is somewhere they can meet again. The ending. In English, you're not scared, are you? Don't be afraid, honey. Everything's going to be okay. A new home and a new school. It's a bit scary. And Chihiro says, I think I can handle it. At this point, I think everyone knows that there were lines added here, so there could be more resolution to the film. That Chihiro had grown up and she is inherently a different person, even if she can't remember anything that happened in the spirit world. In the Japanese version, the ending is more open-ended, and in my opinion, it gives respect to the audience. suggesting that we can think on our own and formulate our own ideas on what we just watched, instead of being spoon-fed information. This silence, where Chihiro is figuring out what just happened, reflects the viewer's viewpoint as well. We're also trying to figure out what just happened in the past 2 hours of the film, and make sense of it. Again, my opinion, but I believe that this is what a perfect compilation of art and entertainment does to us. It makes us think deeper about something whether we have the answers or not. And Mr. Miyazaki's films have this quality that is rare to find nowadays. Okay, so that's it for the translation differences for Spirited Away. I really appreciate you watching to the end, and I'd appreciate it if you can like my video and subscribe if this is the kind of content you feel is worth your time. See you on the next one. Bye!